Sorry, I
Okay.
saw already.
Sandra, you want to introduce? Miss Suggs?
I hope I do it right.
Get it.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Charles,
Yes.
unshare your screen so that Willie can be in.
Got it.
Yes,
Oh,
Okay, got it.
we'd like to welcome
Okay.
Willie Catherine Suggs to our
Hi.
meeting. She is a housing advocate, real estate. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say, but she's huge. I mean, she's huge in Harlem. Anything you need to know about purchasing real estate, brownstones, commercial buildings, real estate law, tenants' rights, you name it. That is Mrs. Suggs.
Okay, Miss Suggs is here as a guest speaker. She's going to speak. I let her know that we know nothing about real estate, so she's going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. The floor is open to her. I really love this woman. I've learned so much from her. Every time I'm in her presence, I learn so much. Get your pens, get your paper. She's going to talk about the market now, what's happening, the benefits of purchasing a house now, what's going to happen in the next 6 to 7 months. And she's just going to give you a whole bunch of information. So Ms. Suggs, I thank you. We thank you for coming online. So if you're ready, you can go ahead and you can do what you do.
All right, now Willie, but right before you speak, I just want to do a little bit of house cleaning. Do you want us all unmuted so you can just interact with us, or do you want everybody muted, or how do you want to do with that?
No, you leave everybody unmuted, because if I start talking too fast, you got to stop me.
All right.
Okay.
Understood.
I-
Thank you very much, and welcome. So guys, you guys have control. If you need to speak, just unmute yourself and go. All right, Willie, the floor is yours.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to introduce myself. I've been a real estate broker since 1985. I specialize in Upper Manhattan, which is to say Harlem and Washington Heights. But our offices also sold properties in the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, but not Staten Island. I'm also very familiar with the entire state of California and the Milwaukee markets. So I'm a homeowner, I'm a landlord. I've owned small apartment buildings, the little house I live in now, and condos. And I also know renovations. I'm going to give you my name and email now so that you can reach, in case some of you have to sign off, you can contact me. It's always best to always leave your phone number if you're going to call me. The cell phones, my personal cell phones are 917-202-1692. It's 917-202-1692 and 917-627-3902. 917-627-3902. I'm usually on the phone from 7 a.m. until 2 a.m. Don't call after 2 a.m. because I'm not going to answer the phone, okay? And that's 7 days a week. And then our email, use my personal email, which is my first name, Willie, W-I-L-L-I-E. My last name, Suggs, that's S like Sam, U like under, G like George, G like George, S like Sam, then the word Harlem. So it's williesuggsharlem@gmail.com. All right, now before I talk, how many of you guys actually own property? Do any of you own anything now? One?
I
I do.
Two?
have a
Three.
studio.
Okay, so the vast majority of you don't. Well, you guys, you can just skip for the next few minutes because I'm going to start off with that.
Now, Willie, I just want to interrupt you for a second. Your microphone is going in and out just a little bit. So if we can try to study the microphone so that we can hear every word. And I just want to reiterate that your phone number is 917-202-1692.
Yes.
And then the second number you gave was 917-627-3902. Is that also correct?
Yes.
All right, and your email address is Willie Suggs with 2 G's Harlem@gmail.com.
Yes.
Got it, guys. I'll put that in the chat for you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
I could talk about like 45 minutes or so, and then you guys are going to ask questions, and we're supposed to be done by 10:30. Is that when the Zoom ends?
Yes. That's
Okay.
fine. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to be referring to well, a lot of stuff, and I can actually send you copies of the information. I have what I call a tip sheet. All righty. So usually start off with, when should you buy? I'm a believer that everybody on the planet Earth needs to own something. It can be your house, your retirement house. I don't care what it is. And I believe that because if you look at most of the stupidly wealthy people in the town, in the world, it's land-based. So you can buy your principal residence, or you can buy a retirement home, or you can get a multi-generational home. But, think about the home ownership. Now, when should you buy? If anybody's going to stay in the same place for at least 3 years. The way the market works, after you've rented something for 3 years, you might as well have just bought it because you've just gone through all the tax incentives to do it. And in most cases, it's more sensible to own than to rent. If you haven't been paying attention to the news, and I know it's politics, you guys got to start paying attention to what happens with those morons in Washington, because that directly impacts the real estate market. Back in the second week in September, the Federal Reserve Board said, hey guys, we're not raising the interest rates. And privately, which meant they were telling Jim Cramer and the other financial gurus, they have no intention of raising the interest rates until 2023. That's 3 years of an interest rate near zero. If you're a bank, you're loaning money back and forth. What does that mean to you as a home buyer or someone who owns already? That means you can go out and borrow money for as little as 2.7% interest, which is unheard of. So anybody who's thinking that they want to buy, you've got a 3-year window to do it. Now, the reality is you don't have 3 years, because what happens when the interest rates drop? The price of real estate goes up. Back in June, because I knew it, but I'm going to get specific numbers nationwide. You talk about the median sales price of a property in Harlem, not in Harlem, median price nationwide back in April. Now the pandemic started in February, so we figured, okay, let's look at April. April, just as sold above $288,000 a year as below it. By June, that number jumped to $293,000. Now it's $350,000. Well, why are the prices going up? Because the interest rates are down, meaning more people now qualify for the mortgages, so they're going to have more competition. So don't wait until 2022 if you're thinking about buying. You want to do it sooner than later. Now, the number one reason people that tell us they can't buy is they don't have any money. I don't want to hear that excuse, because everybody has money. And the reason all of you have money is the federal government, our wonderful government here, is pro-home ownership. The tax code is written for people who own, not for people who rent. The FHA, that stands for the Federal Housing Authority Administration, rather, FHA. FHA was set up by the feds to help people in this country own property. That's why we're different than many places else on the planet Earth. The FHA gives loans for as little as, the interest rate is as low as, not interest rate, the down payment is as little as 3.5%. That means if you're, it's a $100,000 property, all you need is $3,500. Okay, so you got the federal government on your side in terms of they're going to guarantee the loans. Then you're going to say, well, I got the money, but my credit's in the toilet. The FHA doesn't care about your freaking credit score. Okay, I do, and the guys running this class do. But the FHA loans are given to people with scores as low as 580. I wouldn't rent you a doghouse with a 580 credit score, but the federal government will. Now, what happens with the lower rate is interest rate. The interest rate that you're going to pay is going to be higher. But when we're talking about rates as low as 2.77 for people who have good credit, so if your credit's lousy, oh my God, it jumps to 3.5. So the FHA is the federal government's on your side in terms of giving you the loan, guaranteeing you the loan, and they will also give you the freaking money. Now, instead of talking about Trumpy poo and all this political crap, you guys need to know the following. If you don't, there are first-time home buyer grants in all 50 states. You can get one in frickin' Guam. So you Google first-time home buyer grant in Pennsylvania. Say you want to live in Philly, and the screen's going to show you all the not-for-profits that give the classes that result in a first-time homebuyer grant. I'm going to be very specific to New York because that's where I live. So in New York City, the first-time homebuyer grant for this year is $15,000. So you already got some money. Say you don't want to do 3.5% down, you want a smaller mortgage. Well, $15,000 is 10% of a $150,000 purchase. So again, there is no excuse. You don't need a high credit score. You don't even need the freaking money. You do need some money, a few hundred, shekels of your own, because you have to have some of your own money in it. But there is no reason not to if you've decided that you're ready. Now, how do you know if you're ready? If you've got sufficient credit, and we know the bottom line is 580, please come in higher than that. Some income. Now the income is whatever you make. This is what you told the IRS, not what you made under the table. Anybody who's been making money off the books, put it on the frickin' books, because it doesn't count unless it shows up on your tax returns. So you've got the credit, you've got the income, and then you have a debt level that's acceptable to the lender. Now, they typically do not want you to spend more than 30% of your income on housing. FHA will let you have an income debt ratio of 40, as high as 42%. That's crazy. But hey, if you're desperate enough, they'll let you do it. Okay. So when you've decided that this is what you want to do, and you've talked to the significant others in your life that are going to be doing it with you or are impacted by it, you take your little tushy over to your friendly banker. Well, you take the class first, but get yourself a pre-qualification. The reason I suggest the pre-qualification first is the two ways that you can be deemed worthy of purchasing a property. If you get a pre-qualification, the bank is giving you a letter saying, based on what you, oh God, now I got a horn blowing. Based on what you told them, you're qualified to spend so much money. They're not going to run your credit score. You don't want anybody running your credit score until you absolutely have to have it run, because every time it's run, it's going to, except if you do it yourself, like with Credit Karma Experian, those are called soft pulls. They do not show up. But if I call Chase and say, hey, my beautiful niece needs to get a pre-approval, they're going to run her credit. She just lost 3 to 5 points. I don't want you to lose 3 to 5 points, because every time you lose points, the interest rate that you're going to pay is going to go up. All right. So when you do the pre-qualification letter, you're going to see what your issues are. Say the neighborhood you want to buy your property in, the houses are $200,000 and they're telling you you're only good to 180. Well, then you got to find some money somewhere, kill a relative, get your score higher, do something so that you can get to where you need to be. So it's like having, for the brides, that they got the pictures of the wedding gowns on the wall, and that's what they're going to, starve themselves to fit into. If that's what it takes to get you motivated, then put that picture of that house, condo, co-op on the wall, and that's what you're working towards. Okay. Now, what should you buy? That's easy. If you do not want the joys of shoveling snow off your roof in front of the house, raking the leaves, checking on the boiler, do not buy a house. Okay. The house owns you. You don't own that freaking house unless you got a guy to do this stuff for you. If you're a girl, you don't want a house. I mean, houses are nice, but they're a pain in the butt because they need to be maintained. Now, what's nice about them is you can do whatever the heck you want. You can walk around stark naked, scream, holler, do whatever you want because it's your home. You want to paint the walls fuchsia? Nobody cares. Nobody can tell you that you can't have a party. Maybe make too much noise, but it's your home. It's a person's home is their castle. Then you buy the house. If you don't want to be bothered with any of the homeowner stuff, then buy an apartment and let Juan or John or wherever the super is, or the doorman, take care of all that mundane stuff. But remember, when you're buying an apartment, you're buying in with a bunch of perfect strangers. Now, the two types of, actually the three types, but the two main types of property that are apartments, sometimes they're actually separate houses, will be co-ops and condos. New York, we have, well, more co-ops than condos. The new stuff is condos. A co-op is not real estate. A co-op is shares of a corporation. It's like buying 100 shares of Coca-Cola or GM. You don't own it. You've got shares of a corporation, and at the closing, they give you this piece of paper called a stock certificate that says you own 2,000 shares of the Langston on 145th Street. All right. You have to get approved by a board unless you're buying in the initial first offering. The board's going to rake you over the coals and see if they even want you in the frickin' building. There are a whole bunch of rules you got to follow. Every month, you're going to pay your mortgage and you're going to pay your maintenance. That's your share of maintaining the property. That's the super salary, the doorman, upkeep of the gym, the master insurance policy for the building. If there's one big heating plant, and there usually is, your share of the heat and hot water. And if there are any real estate taxes, it includes the real estate taxes. That's a co-op. Okay. Now, even though it's not real property, it's listed as such by the city. So you can, so if you want to find out what Betty paid for apartment 204 in the Langston, you can go on a website, which I'll give you later, and they'll tell you. The second one, the one that most of you first-time home buyers and most buyers like, are the condos. It stands short for condominium. Well, the condominium, you have three bills. You pay your mortgage each month. You pay your common charge. That's your share of the overall expenses for running the building. And you personally get a separate bill from Mr. de Blasio. That's your real estate taxes. So it's your mortgage, your common charge, and your real estate taxes. So when you're reading the ads online, if it's a co-op, it's going to say there'll be an abbreviation for maintenance, MAINT, and you go, oh, that's what I pay each month for my maintenance. And it'll say TD next to that. That's tax deductible. What part of the maintenance is tax deductible? What's tax deductible, and you care about that, are the real estate taxes for the unit. Right. If it's a condo, the ad's going to say CC. That's your common charges. And your taxes will be, your monthly taxes will be listed separately as well. There's also another type of group ownership, which is called a condop, that has features of a co-op and a condo. Now, because with a condo, they can sell to Beyonce, nobody's going to stop them. With a condo, the only reason that they can stop the sale from going forward is if the seller is underselling it. The condo association, homeowners association, has the right to buy it. They're not going to let the unit be undersold, but they can't say no to you because you're Beyonce. All right, that's why the artists, the celebrities wind up owning condos. They don't want to be bothered with boards. Boards have rejected everybody from Richard Nixon to Barbara Streisand. Just about every black rapper's been rejected. They don't even bother. They just go right ahead and buy a condo. Okay, so if you're buying, I'm assuming most of you are being interested more in a single family home, but the reality is there's more than one type of home you can buy. Single family houses, again, you're responsible for that puppy. The only problem with single family home is the same problem you have with the condo and the co-op. You don't make any money living in it. Yes, you get the tax deductibility, but unless you're doing Airbnb, you're not going to be making money sitting there living in the house. You'll cash in when you sell the house. If you buy a multifamily, then everything changes. Now, if I'm buying in New York City, I'm buying a 1, a 2, or a 3. 1, 2, and 3 families have the same tax basis. So they're taxed at the same low rate. The minute you go to a 4 family, you might as well be buying a hotel somewhere. Your real estate taxes are higher. Now, the beauty of buying a 2 or 3 family is you've got then tenants who are paying your bills. Now, there's a big caveat with that now. What happened as a result of the pandemic? We got stupid government telling people they don't have to pay rent. Well, I still got to pay my bills. So think long and hard. If you're going to buy something with rental property that has rental units, you cannot depend on the people paying, even without the pandemic. New York City has very pro-tenant rent laws. I can tell you horror stories. People who've been in buildings for up to 10 years and didn't pay a dime, and nobody killed them, so they were stuck there until the judge threw them out. So Willie's #1 rule with tenants is you never rent to relatives or friends, because you're going to have a bunch of ex-relatives and ex-friends because they know you're not going to throw them out. This is business. If you're going to buy a 2 or 3 family and you're the sole person on it, you're not buying it and splitting the house with your sister. Like you get a duplex, she gets another, and everything is halvesies. But you decide you're going to rent to your sister. The answer is no. Oh, she can go buy her own damn house, okay? These people are walking dollar bills. You need their money so you can pay the mortgage. If you do not have that mentality, do not buy a multifamily because you're going to wind up in deep doo-doo at some point. And now the folks who did it, and they're in this pandemic, they're in really deep doo-doo, okay? So with the multifamilies, condo, co-op, townhouse, co-op boards. Okay, when you're qualifying for a mortgage, It's much easier to be qualified for a townhouse, single family house than a co-op or a condo. Not all banks lend on co-ops and condos. They just don't. Every bank lends on a one family house. So you've got more banks to pick from, banks, savings and loans, credit unions. Everybody's going to do a single family. The minute you start doing condos and co-ops, you start losing places to borrow money from. That cuts down on your options. Okay, then I'm going to talk about specific kinds of co-ops. Now, if we're dealing with New York City, there's something called an HDFC. That stands for Housing Development Fund Corporation. If you're looking for a bargain, and who isn't, you're not going to find HDFCs on Amazon, okay? They're not on Amazon Prime. These are buildings that used to belong to normal investors. For whatever reason, they either walked away or the city took them. City, as everybody knows, is the worst landlord. So the city then came up with a bright idea about 40 years ago to turn them into co-ops. So you've lived in 79 Hamilton Place. Your landlord was a landlord from hell. City comes in, takes over the management of the building, trains a bunch of the residents as to how to run a building, and then makes everybody an offer they can't refuse. They were allowed to buy those apartments for $250 each. Didn't matter that it was on the top floor and had views of Jersey and the river. It's $250. Up at 800 Riverside Drive, they bought their units for $1,500. With HDFCs, all the units in the building have the same number of shares, 250, and they all were sold for the same price, regardless of condition, regardless of location, regardless of view. There are over 1,200 HDFCs in New York City. More than 600 are in Upper Manhattan, which is to say Harlem. So if I'm looking in the city and I want an apartment, I don't want to deal with a house, I'm going to do my best, if I can, to buy an HDFC. Why? Because the ones that have good financials are so underpriced, it's ridiculous. You can be in a 3-bedroom and your apartment is you paid $600,000 for it. The 3-bedroom directly across the street, same size, same condition, but its market rate is 1.5 million. Now, why did the city do this? And there's got to be a catch. There is a catch. HDFCs are income restricted. People with high income cannot buy them. Therefore, they will never reach their true value. That $600,000 apartment will never sell for 1.5 until the 1.5 apartment sells for 3.5. Then it's going to go up. The income caps are the following. It's based on a percentage of what's called it's the area median income. The federal government does their little data as to what the income is in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, so many miles around New York City, and that's the AMI. For 2020, the most you can make as a single person and buy an HDFC would be $131,000. That's one person. That's the 165% of the AMI. That's the highest. So if you're currently making over 131 a year, have a nice life. You're not getting an HDFC because that's where they cap out. Some of the HDFCs, the income caps are as low as 30% of the AMI. So you have buildings where you can't make more than $25,000. Big hint. If you're going to go after an HDFC, get one that it's at least 120% of the AMI. That means this year you couldn't make more than $95,000 a year as a single person. But the ideal is to get the highest cap, the 165% of AMI, because then when you go to sell it 4 or 5 years from now, you got a bunch of people you can sell it to. $131,000 isn't chump change in this town. Okay, so you're going to have more people you can sell it to. When you buy real estate, it's what's your end game, unless you're going to buy it and give it to your grandkids. Most people are thinking of, when I die and go to heaven, my cousin Betty gets the place. You want to simply retire and move to Arizona or North Carolina. You want something that's going to grow in value, because this is what this is about, financial literacy and living a good life and enjoying it later. You want your real estate to grow in value just as you want your savings and your stock portfolio. So you buy something that is of value. You never buy the worst house in the worst neighborhood. You always buy the worst house in the best neighborhood, because then it's going to grow up in value. And the worst thing to buy in New York City would be an income restricted unit, except that it's in the best neighborhood in the world. It's New York City. So it's going to go up. It's going to go up in value. The HDFCs, nobody's selling HDFCs for $250. 800 Riverside Drive. The building is called the Grinnell If you know the #1 subway stop up there, that's Broadway at 157th Street, you get off and there's this big triangular shaped building with little turrets on top. That's the Grinnell. Those units, again, those people paid $1,500 for them. Units in there have sold as high as 2.2 million. So Miss Betty bought her apartment for 1,500 and she sold it for 2.2. That's what you can do with an HDFC. All right, that's the extreme end. Most of them only go up 10 times. That one went way up. But we've sold stuff, people paid $250. We sold it for them for 300. Paid 3, sold it for 8. All right, these are apartments. And just as when you're looking at your co-op or condo, you're going to look first at the financials. It's got to be in a neighborhood you like. If the financials are not solid, that's essentially the tax returns for the building. I don't care how cheap the apartment is, you run in the other direction. Because if they've got crappy finances, #1, the bank's not going to lend on it. #2, if you're silly enough to pay all cash, who the heck's going to be dumb enough to buy it from you? It's Willie's greater fool theory. You got to find somebody dumber than you to sell the thing to. So if the financials are not good, run. Don't walk, run away. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule. If the financials are crappy, but they've got a new board, they're giving you the house, and they've got this plan with the city to pay off the back debt, then think about it. That worked for a couple of buildings we worked in. We sold the first apartment for $79,000 when all cash at 60. The next one went for 80. Now the units are 400,000 3 years later because we were able to get the financials right. Right. So those are HDFCs. Other thing you should always be looking at in any community you're looking to consider real estate is go on the city government's housing website. New York City, it's called nyc.gov. You should all have that memorized. And you look up HPD. That stands for Housing, Preservation, and Development. Get on their freaking mailing list for home buyers. If you're looking to rent because you're not ready to buy, get on the one for renting. Anytime a new development comes up, you're going to get an email. Consider anything those silly people downtown are doing, because if they're selling it below market, and I'm talking way below market. We were asked to sell some townhouses back in 1998. Now, by 1998, the houses in Harlem had already hit 750,000 for a finished townhouse. Hamilton Terrace, Drivers Row, gorgeous house. 750 is what you had to pay to get one that was done to death, right? We were told to sell brand new townhouses with all the bells and whistles. You could customize them, and they were only up to 5. Most of them were in the 2s. We were told to list 2 of them at 169,000, one at 189. So if you were smart enough to get in that lottery, which was advertised by the city, you closed at your house for 169. The day you closed, it was worth 750. A couple of the houses were worth way over $1 million. They had instant equity in the properties because the city stupidly undersold them. I'm happy for my 30 people. They're all multimillionaires now because, they realized what was going on. So you want to look at the city website and get notices. I don't care if the frickin' house is on Staten Island. If they're selling it, it's going to be underpriced. Think about it if it works for you. Now, when you buy your property, you're going to have it inspected anyway. I don't care if it's new construction. So you still inspect it to make sure it's done properly. Okay, so you're going to keep up with the New York City government website. The other thing you should do is your own basic research. Now, everybody starts their home buying search now online. So say you've decided you want to move to Teaneck, New Jersey. You type in Teaneck, New Jersey, and homes for sale, and a bunch of ads are going to pop up. The websites that everybody knows about are Street Easy, STREETEASY. That's very big in the Northeast, not West Coast, but out here. Street Easy, Zillow, Trulia. Realtor.com that's the website for the National Association of Realtors. And I'm not a realtor because I don't belong to the National Association of Realtors. I could care less about anything unless it's not in Harlem. I don't care. But they have listings around the United States. So you could put in Bakersfield, California, zip code 93314, and 50 listings are going to pop up on there. Not the same with Street Easy. So depending on where you're looking to buy your house, there are going to be different websites that are going to suit you better. The New York Times website is really for snooty rich people. I mean, you can look at it, but they're not going to have really cheap bargains in there. And almost nobody does what they call display ads anymore. Those are the big ads that say, the when the city is building something with the subway, they're looking for a request for a proposal to build some bridge or tunnel for the subway. You'll see an ad in the paper. The New York Times run the display ads for, the number one source for the cheap stuff, like the HPD bargain stuff, is going to be in the Amsterdam News. So if you don't get the Amsterdam News, I would suggest you pick it up every Thursday and read it for the display ads. If you can, however you want to organize your home search, it can be, a physical notebook or online, but pick a date where you check all the websites and you check the city websites, and as backup, read the display ads. Now, going back to the HDFC's Housing Development Fund, the cheapy co-ops, they are still creating new HDFCs. How do I know that? They run ads for them, okay? Because there has to be a hearing. The city has to say, yeah, we're going to take this building from Bob, and we took the building from Bob over there, and now we're going to offer the units to the tenants. So why do you care? Because that's going to tell you the building is they're going to be selling those apartments to those residents for $250. If there's some old geezer and they're about to die, go become his best friend. And I'm not kidding. But more importantly, since you know the building exists, go over there, talk to the super and say, hey, is anybody in the building that you know of not going to buy their apartment? Because they don't make you buy your apartment. You can stay there as a renter, which is kind of stupid, but people do. But you can stay there as a renter to the rest of your life. We'll say it's Miss Betty, and she's 70 years old, and she wants to go to Peoria, but has no money. Offer to buy her freaking apartment. She pays the $250, she gets it, and then she sells it to you. You don't care. What the city does with the HDFCs to keep people from making huge profits is when you become an HDFC, you have what's called a regulatory agreement between your building, your co-op, and the city. They can last as long as 40 freaking years. During that 40-year period, if you sell that apartment to somebody else, the city wants its blood money. It's called the flip tax. So they get 90% of the profit, and then it starts out at 90% and it eventually goes to zero. So people who buy the units knowing they're going to retire, say in 30 years, they wait till the 30-year mark when they don't have to pay a flip tax, and then they sell. Miss Betty wants to go to Mississippi now. What the hell does she care? You're going to pay her. She's getting more money than she would have got nothing if she just moved out. But I'm serious, go over there and schmooze those folks. The other reason you want to schmooze them is there's typically several units in the building when the building goes HDFC that are vacant. Well, guess who's going to sell those units? The board. Bond with the board people and say, hey, I understand you've got apartment 67 is vacant. You're going to sell it. I want to buy it. You're going to get it cheaper at the beginning of this HDFC process than at the end. Okay. So you want to look at the Amsterdam News because they're going to have those ads. Sometimes the News of the Post, extremely rare are you going to see it in the Times. Okay. You can also do that Google word search, sign up. Well, I've got so many word searching, but Harlem real estate or whatever real estate you're looking to track, so that anytime a story appears anywhere in the Google universe, you're going to get that article. And if knowledge, we talk about knowledge is power, it really is power in real estate. Now, and then if you really got a lot of time, which nobody does anymore, but you don't really have an excuse. Say you're interested in a property in Central Harlem. You're thinking, maybe I want to do something in Central Harlem for my business, because it's financial literacy. Maybe you want to open a business. Well, you should be taking part, or at least keeping up with the community board meetings. They're now virtual. So you can just sign up and sit there and listen. Why do you want to know what the community boards are doing? They don't have any real power. That's true. They make recommendations, but they know who's developing what programs the city's thinking about doing. They talk about stuff that's not going to happen for 10 years down the line. So if you know, for example, community boards, landmarks, and housing committee has on their agenda extending the landmark district. What? I didn't know that. Well, then you buy your freaking little house before it goes landmark, because the value is going to go up. Number two, if you already own a house and you're about to go landmark, you better finish your work before it becomes landmark, because the landmarking is going to impact what you can do to the facade of the building. The landmarks in Harlem are almost all exterior. So if I want to put new windows in my house, I'm actually supposed to get permission from somebody, and there's all these silly rules. But that is to say, you want to know what's going on in your community. and in your real estate community. And the community boards talk about that. I knew about what Columbia was planning. I knew that 25 years ago because I was going to community board meetings. I said, they're buying up stuff. They kept it on the low down, but they were buying property so they could expand their campus, and they were getting them for dirt cheap because the people didn't know that they were buying from straw. They were straw buyers. It was like Joe, but Joe was really Columbia. They were gobbling up as much stuff as they could before everybody found out, because their plan was just take over everything from 14th Street all the way up to that silly hospital. Well, if you were the community board, you just sort of figured out something was going on. Okay. So, so you're going to read the papers, you're going to look at stuff online. Now, where should you buy? That to me is always the easiest. You pick the neighborhood that suits you, not Willie, not Bob, not Henry, not Donald Trump. It's what do you do with your pathetic little life? Okay, I've got a dog and 5 kids. Well, you need to be near a park, okay? Right, in addition to having a big yard. But it's really that simple. It's how do I live my life? Oh, I've got a job where I can never be late for work. You better sit on top of the subway line, or sit on top of a bus line, or sit on top of a highway. Why are you buying in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania? As one lady told me. I said, what the hell are you moving there for? It's a 2.5-hour ride. Oh, but there's a bus and the house is cheap. I said, no. You have a cute husband. Last time I checked, he was kind of cute. And you got those adorable kids. You're going to spend 5 hours a day commuting? That's stupid. Now, if you're single, you want to do it, that's fine. But think about your life. If all your friends and your relatives that you care about are in Brooklyn, then you should keep your butt in Brooklyn, because, you know, that's what you do. But however, if all your friends and relatives in Inglewood, then you should be in Inglewood. It's that simple. So you pick out the location based on your needs in your life, not your loser friends. Oh, and don't tell your loser friends what you're doing, because the minute they find out you're buying something, half of them are going to stop talking to you and the other half are going to try and talk you out of it. You talk to people that are on your level, on the same wavelength. So if your sister's already bought a house, thinks East Stroudsburg walks on water, then talk to your sister, but not your loser coworkers. And I can tell you again, horror stories, people who were talked out of buying what they should have bought and then contacted me weeks, one case 2 years later, and felt really stupid. I said, well, I was trying to tell you, you don't have to buy this house. I don't care. But you told me you wanted to buy, you had all the reasons to buy, and you didn't. And now in all those cases, the houses, the properties are way beyond their reach, because stuff just shot up and they're screwed. They can't afford it. So the only people that need to know what you're doing is your significant other, if you've got one, your banker, and your lawyer. You know, zip it. We had another case, kid was he had saved up some money, he was buying a house in the Landmark District. And he shows up to see the one that I found for him. I said, this is exactly what you want. It's an investment vehicle. It's a 2-family. It's perfect. And I said, and we're about to close one at $500,000. This one is a bank foreclosure. He was getting it for like $280,000. He shows up with his friend. His friend was not his friend. All right. His friend calls me like 2 minutes after we leave the house and buys the house out from under his friend. And I couldn't say anything to him. To this day, he does not know that his friend bought the house right out from under him. He bought it in an LLC. So that's what some of your friends will do. Another lady, the lawyer talked her out of buying a freaking house on Hamilton Terrace. The owner liked her for some reason, which is why I don't like owners to meet you guys, because then they sell you under sell stuff. But anyway, she was getting a house for $360,000, right? Her dad had died, left her $500,000. She's getting married. Again, this was right before we closed the first house at $500,000. And I said, look, we're going to jump this price to $500,000 because 4 doors down, we're getting ready to close. Her lawyer, oh no, it's a stupid idea, blah, blah. That house has sold twice since then, and it's on the market now for $4.25 million. This was only 15 years. I mean, so you got to be careful who you talk to, because they don't need to know, don't tell them anything. So, okay, how do you find your house? Okay, well, that we talked about on paper, happy house. Okay, that's one thing. Now I'm going to go through, see, I didn't do the loans, did I? Okay, all right, so now we're going to talk about the loan rates. Now, you may want to write this down. Okay, the rates nationally now are 3%. Now, what do I mean by rates? I'm talking about interest rates. The interest rate, you can get most of you will get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. That means you pay the same little amount each year each month rather, for 30 years. No, you're not going to have the freaking mortgage for 30 years because you're not stupid, but that's the rate you're going to get. Because then if you want to pay it off sooner and save on the interest, you can, but get the 30-year, because then you have the option of paying more. So if you have a, and you can go on the website, MyFico, which I'm assuming I talked to you about, and MyFico updates every day. All right, so if you looked at MyFico today, it says that for New York State, if you're buying something in New York State and your FICO score is a pathetic 620 to 639, that's low, but it's not that low. Your interest rate is 3.91. That means a $200,000 mortgage is only $945 a month. If your FICO score, on the other hand, is you're in the way up there, you're 760 to 850, which means you're essentially perfect and you walk on water and we worship the ground you walk on, your interest rate is going to be 2.34%. That's a big difference. And it's even bigger difference in what you're going to pay per month. If it's a $200,000 loan, your mortgage payment is $774 a month. Now, I think everybody on this call is paying more than $774 a month to live wherever you're living. And that's a $200,000 loan. So if say it's a $100,000 loan, then your payment is what? It's half of $774. It's $380 something, $89. That's ridiculous. That's why everybody is running around trying to buy now, because the rates are so low. Now, when you go on MyFico, you put in the state because it varies slightly from state to state. But the average nationwide is 3%. Okay. Now, okay. So now we're going to go to the FHA loans. Now, the FHA loans range based again on the state you're in. The lowest amount, let's say low, mean a high. The lowest. Okay. If you're buying in New York State, we have a higher loan limit, meaning you can borrow this much money and you're with as little as 3.5% down. So the most you can borrow in New York State with only 3.5% down is $765,600. So that means with as little as, if you're putting down 3.5%, the minimum, you'd need $26,796. For the other states, it's $331,760. So depending on the state, the loan amount for 3.5% is a maximum of $331,000 in some states, but it caps at $765,600, and that's a single family home. And again, with FHA loans, your score can be as low as 580. Okay. Now, if you're going to be taking a real, because what I'm trying to do is cram in 8.5 hours what you need to know. If you're going to take advantage of these first-time homebuyer grants that are given again in all 50 states and U.S. possessions, you have to take a class. It's an 8.5-hour class. Don't ever take it as one day, because you're going to come out of there and you won't know anything. Take it over 4 sessions, because they layer it in. So it's 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever. They're given by not-for-profits. In Harlem, the one that we're the guest speaker at on occasion is run by HCCI. Oh, dear God, my phone is losing the charge. Hold on. Okay, just plugged it in. Okay, is HCCI. Oh, God. There it is. Is HCCI. That stands for Harlem Congregations for Community Improvement. And if you go to their website, which is hcci.org, and you'll click on Home Buyers Program, and you can sign up for it. The not-for-profits that give it all have to cover the same information, because again, the money is coming from the feds. So take the class from the cheapest not-for-profit. HCCI charges you $20. Some of the other groups charge as much as $150. Why are you spending $150? The whole point is to save money, not waste money. Now, the categories that they go over is how to manage your money, credit debt management. They talk about grants, mortgage products. That means, 15-year loans, adjustable rate mortgage, 15-year mortgages, 30-year mortgages, that kind of stuff. How to shop for a house, that's us. Guarding against predatory lending, because that exists. Identity theft, why you need the house inspected, what about insurance, the mortgage process, fair housing. So any event, because of the pandemic, all these classes are now held via Zoom. They're not in person. But I strongly encourage you, even if you're not going to buy for several months or even years out, the sooner you get comfortable with the process, the easier it's going to be for you. If in fact it's what you want to do, which I again encourage everybody to do. I think, let's see. Oh, okay. So types of properties that you can buy. I forgot to talk to you about these. All right. So you guys all have heard of foreclosures and REOs. Foreclosure means you missed 3 mortgage payments, you got a nasty letter from the bank. Foreclosure means they took your butt to court and they're selling your house on the courthouse steps. Foreclosure means your house is gone, somebody else owns it. So there are different steps in it. You guys, except for those who already own, I don't see you going to the courthouse steps to bidding on foreclosures. So you're better off getting the property from the bank directly after the bank gets it back. Then they're called REOs. That stands for real estate owned. So you can call, I can't because I can't lie as a broker, they'd take my license. So, and I wouldn't do it anyway, but you'd call Chase and say, hi, I'm Bob, Betty and my wife and I want to buy an REO and we're interested in condo, CoOp, whatever it is you want in the town you want, and you're an investor. The word that you use is investor. Then they go, yeah, you're an investor. The banks don't want these houses. They don't want these co-ops. They don't want these condos. They want this stuff gone. The minute they hear investor, they will email you the name of the broker that handles all their properties that you've described. And then you go out and you talk to them. It's the same process with buying. You still got to inspect it. You still have to have a pre-approval letter from a bank. Sometimes they'll even give you the loan, but you're dealing then with a building or property that's empty. It's going to have a clear title. And guess what? It's going to be below market. Are there REOs in Harlem? Yeah. A house just popped up. I was shocked to see it because I knew the owner. They told me we could have figured out how to get them out of the mess they're in. But anyway, that's REOs. That stands for real estate owned. So if you're on the websites and somebody says it's an REO, call them. The other thing you're going to see sometimes in the ads is the letters FSBO. That stands for Frank, Sam, Brother, Other. That means for sale by owner, also called an idiot. You should never sell your own property because you don't know what the hell you're doing. As much as I know, I'm not dumb enough to sell my own house because you can't distance yourself for it. So if you've got something that's an FSBO or FSBO, hire a broker to represent you and let them beat the buyer up because they can do all kinds of stuff to them and get it for you for even less. Because again, because you're going to take all these classes, but you get your own broker and you just go to town and you grab that thing because they're like gifts from heaven. So FSBOs, REOs, and foreclosures. The other thing that you'll sometimes see is called a short sale. We're not going to have that many short sales because again, the market is booming, but in a down market, you will have short sales. A short sale, you're buying directly from the person whose name is on the deed. They still own it. Now, we had a whole bunch of them after 2008. People overpaid, the market tanked, they lost their job, they couldn't sell the house because it was appraising or people were offering them less than was owed. So what you did then as a long-suffering homeowner, you called the bank and said, hey, Chase, I know I owe you $300,000. Nobody's offering me more than $280,000. Will you take less? The banks weren't stupid, they took less. So it's called a short sale. Now the buyer's happy because they know that they're buying at the bottom of the market and it's going to go up. You're happy because you're out of the freaking house and you don't owe any money. The bank just forgives the money that you owed. The difference, the reality is you got a tax consequence from the IRS, but at least you're out of it. Unless you can get you're going to get hit with the taxes. So that's a short sale. But what you guys should be looking at now would be REOs and FSBOs. A lot of the owners think that, I'm going to save the 6% broker's commission by selling it myself. You haven't a clue as to what the hell you're doing because you don't know what we know. We know about stuff that's on the market that's advertised. You know about stuff that's it's off market where somebody's thinking about it. We know stuff that's in contract. We know if we're doing this full time, that is, that's going up and stuff that's coming down. So if you decided that you're going to go ahead now and buy something, you're going to figure out the neighborhood you want it to be in. It's going to be easy to figure out which broker, because say you're driving through Inglewood Cliffs and there's a Weichert sign every 5 blocks, call the Weichert office. Say, hey, I'm going to talk to the broker in charge. Always try to get the principal broker in the office. Why? Because we know everything and we've got people that owe us favors so we can get stuff done for you. You want the most experienced person in the office, not the person who just got out of real estate school. If you're having a heart surgery, do you want the guy who just got out of Johns Hopkins or the guy who's been doing it for 20, or the girl who's been doing it for 20 years? You want the most experienced person on your team. You're going to have a team when you're buying real estate. You're going to have your real estate broker. You want somebody who specializes in what you're looking for. If it's co-ops and condos, why are you talking to somebody who does mixed use, meaning residential and commercial? They don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're not going to have a list. And I don't care if it's your cousin Bob. This is about making some money here. The whole thing is about making some money here. So you get the most experienced real estate broker. You get the most experienced lawyer you can. Get a lawyer who specializes in, there's no such thing as real estate. There's different types of real estate. So you don't want a guy who does co-ops and condos. You want the woman who does the townhouses, because that's what you're buying. And again, somebody who just didn't get out of real estate school, but they've done this for years. And that's easy enough to figure out because they're going to be in them. It's going to be on their websites. Your home inspector, the same thing. You don't find your freaking home inspector by going through the freaking yellow pages. You call any of the guys who run these, the guys or ladies who run these HDFs, not HDFCs, who run these the workshops for first-time home buyers. They're going to have a list of lawyers who are going to speak, and all of them have got, I guarantee you, years experience. The minimum, as far as I'm concerned, is 10 years. If you haven't been doing it for 10 years, why am I talking to you? And if you've been doing it for 10 years successfully, you must be doing something right, because you're still around 10 years later. So you want the lawyer as well. And then the home inspector. The home inspector ideally belongs to a professional organization called ASHI. That's ASHAI, American Society of Home Inspectors or whatever. Home inspectors. My niece who's buying a house in Santa Barbara, come to find out there's only one ASHI inspector in the whole county, which is insane. I don't know how they do stuff out there, because I don't know anybody in Santa Barbara. So I'm going to make sure she didn't get screwed buying a house that had something wrong with it. So we found her. We found the one guy out there. New York City, there are plenty of them. Now with the home inspectors, and I don't care if the broker that you're with says, you don't need to have it inspected, it's a co-op. If I find out you guys bought something, didn't have it inspected by a professional, I'm going to smack you silly. You have to know what the building is. You're not just buying the apartment. The apartment is in a building. You need to know if that roof is old. Is it turtle backing? Are the skylights for caca? You need to go down in the cellar. We had this one broker who didn't want to do the inspector. I dragged her customer down there anyway with the inspector, because I hadn't been to the cellar and I wanted to make sure that the meters were right. Well, guess what? The apartment didn't have a gas meter. It was on the ground. Con had never installed it. So she'd have closed with no gas meter. Yeah, you could fix it, but why do you need this aggravation in your life? Another apartment, we dragged him down to the cellar. The electric meter was spinning. Well, what's wrong with that? I had shut off all the power in the apartment. So why was the electric meter spinning? Well, because the super was using that apartment's juice for his apartment. He got fired, of course. So you want to inspect, so you see that the heating plant is in good condition, bad condition, no condition. If you're buying an apartment, it's just like buying a house. When you buy the house, you're going to look at the heating plant and you know, well, the house is cheap because the boiler's bad. Well, how long have I got? Do I got 5 years? I got 10 years? I got 20 years? You need to know. In a co-op or condo, it's the same thing, but it's even more important. When you are qualified for a bank for a mortgage, you will qualify more. You'll be able to spend more on a house than you will on a co-op or condo, because they're assuming that the maintenance is going to go up. Guess why? Because the maintenance goes up. Okay. So you bought in the building and 6 months later, oh, there's an assessment. You need a new roof. Well, you didn't budget another $200 for that. And you sure as heck didn't budget another $300 for that. So if you know that going in, you can budget for it, but you're only going to know that if you've had it inspected. The other thing you're going to do with a co-op or a condo, and this again is why you need a good lawyer, is your lawyer is going to say, yep, contract sale is fine. Yep, the bank mortgage and note is fine. But even before that, he's going to look at the finances, the tax returns of the building to make sure that the building is behaving, that you don't have, more than 5% of the people not paying their rent if they're renting, or their because some co-ops have rentals, that the people are paying their maintenance, their monthly charges, that there are no lawsuits pending. That's only going to show up in the minutes. That's not going to show up in the financials. So your lawyer, which is why a co-op condo lawyer is going to charge you more than a house lawyer, they got to take their butts to the office, the management office, or the buildings, the board of directors office, and sit and read for hours. They have to read at a minimum 1 year's worth. 1 year's worth of minutes, ideally 3 years, because there could be a lawsuit brewing from 3 years ago that they didn't mention in the past year. So you're not surprised again that, you know, the guys who did the roof are suing you. If they're suing you, guess what happens with a lawsuit? You can't do anything in the building. You can't sell anything with litigation pending unless you put a bond. So they're suing you for $4 million. You got to put a $4 million bond in the building. It just screws up everything. So that's what the lawyer does. They read through the minutes to make sure there's no funky litigation pending in the building. Okay, what else we have in here? Make sure I didn't forget anything. I think I covered everything, but I'm not sure. All right, so you guys got questions?
I have a couple of questions. Hi, this is Cynthia. So I am from Philadelphia. I have a property in Philadelphia. I'm also now renting an apartment in New York City, and I'm also a veteran.
Oh, wow.
Right now, yeah, I have not used my my VA loan either, so that's still available to me. And I guess my couple of questions are, I mean, given that the markets right now are really good in New York, I don't know if I can afford to have the mortgage here. I owe about 300 grand. And the apartment in New York, and then go and, you know, try to look at purchasing a place for myself right now. That might be just too much. But one question I have is, I have a 3.5 interest rate, 7-year ARM with 4 more years on the ARM. Should I refinance? What's that?
Yes. Get out of it now.
Okay. And so should I go to like a 30-year fixed mortgage? Okay. Now Chase, where my mortgage is offering me, I think, 2.9 something. Let's see here. 2.99 on a 30-year fixed APR. But then they're also saying that I would have $4,000 of closing costs that could roll back into the mortgage. And that didn't sound.
No. What is your credit score?
My credit score is 830.
Hell no. They should be offering you the most is 2.875. They should offer to let you buy it down to 2.2. Tell them, thank you very much. You're going to keep calling. You're going to dial for dollars. That's ridiculous. You're a perfect buyer. I mean, you're a perfect person. No. The reason you want to get out of the arms, even though those lovely people at the Federal Reserve said, yeah, we're not going to touch the interest rate. As you've seen, the politics in this country is insane. Anything can go kerflooey at the last minute, and then you're screwed. So if they're going to give you the money cheap now, take the money and run. The reason you do the 30-year fixed is you have the option of paying it off sooner, or simply what I do, I round the payment up each month. So if one of them is like $1,630 a month, I pay them $1,700, and then at the end of each year, I pay another. Instead of paying 12 payments a year, I pay you the 12 or 13. I'm sorry, I pay you the 13 or 14. If you have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage and you make 13 payments a year instead of 12, the mortgage is often like 18 years, 19 years. If you make 14 payments a year, you're paying off the mortgage in 11 years. So nobody I know and talk to is taking 30 years. You just have to have the extra money. You're saving so much on the interest. It's crazy not to do it. But no, you can do a lot better than that.
Do you have any recommendations as to where I could go?
No, you call your Chase guy back and you say, look, I'm told I could offer. What are you going to do for me? And if they say, no, I'm talking to my friends at Citi, I'm talking to HSBC. You call everybody. They're not going to run your credit. When you call them, give them your score. Do not let anybody run your credit.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm very protective of my credit score, as you can see.
Yeah, you're really good. You're really good. What's it? First Republic, I call it the rich people's bank. First Republic is great. There are 5 people in the loan division. You're going to wind up talking to the woman who runs it. It happens to be a woman. They just make stuff up. Now, First Republic doesn't have that many loans in Black neighborhoods, that many loans to Black people or people of color. So they're going to fall all over themselves. If you're buying in a Black neighborhood, or if you are a person of color, they just make it up to get the money. The reason everybody's going to be anxious to do business, what are we approaching? It's the end of the year. It's December. They've got to get their numbers up. Number 2, if you're looking to buy, people who've been trying to sell all year are ready to jump out of a window. They will do anything to get their property gone. So you're going to have even more flexibility in the purchase. But no, that rate's too high. No,
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
So you're saying 2.2 APR or 2.87 APR?
2.87 APR is what they should offer you to begin with, but they can let you buy the rate down to 2.2. And then my mortgage broker, Tyrone Mingo, told me he's got a bank. It's a bank in California that's offering 1.75, which is insane.
What?
They're making stuff up because they can do it. They're trying to get the business. Everybody's trying to make money because for a while they weren't making any money. I mean, it's literally dropping every day.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And my other question is, you answered that about refinancing. My other question is, you're saying basically in the next 2 to 3 years with the interest rates, what would be the best thing for me to do moving forward, given that I just got this apartment, so I'm in for a year, and again I have this mortgage in Philadelphia. So I mean, is it wise for me to look at buying property in a year or so, or is it better for me to pay off my mortgage?
Well, it depends on how old you are and what you want to do with the money once you paid it off. I mean, if you know you're going to be retiring wherever you're going to retire, then buy something where you're going to retire to. If you know you're going to be in the city for more than the 3 years, then you really should own. The landlords, they're going to be upset if you break the lease, but there's not a whole lot they can do about it. And the only time I care about pissing off landlords is if I'm going to stay being a renter, because there is a blacklist, although there's not supposed to be one, there is one. So if you're going to stay renting, don't piss the landlord off because they can haul your butt to court. And just the fact that you have a landlord-tenant record is against you. Now, if you're never going to rent again, then you really don't care. You just go.
No, I'm gonna honor my rental agreement, but I'm just looking into, like, a year will go by very fast. So looking at the future for Philadelphia, the property I want to keep I have this as an investment property. The HSAs, it's really expensive. The mortgage is affordable, but every year, those HOAs, I mean, they go up quite a bit here in Philadelphia where I'm at, but it's a good investment. And I have a tenant, so.
Yeah, but the New York City rental, if you've got a New York City lease, unless you've got some strange lease, you should be able to sublet it. So if you find something and the landlords aren't crazy. As long as they've got somebody paying the rent, they're not going to care. We had 3 tenants move out, and not my building, but building that we manage. And I said, just tell me when you're leaving and I'll park somebody in there, as long as there's no real break in the rent. The landlords didn't care. They were ecstatic that the kids even told them that they were leaving. So you can do that as well. But if you see something that had, if you see something that has your name all over it and you know you're going to regret it, like I told the story, it was a blouse at Loman's 30 years ago. It was $1,000 because it was an Yves Saint Laurent. I could have bought it for like $100, and I still I'm like, what the was I thinking? I mean, how stupid was that? If that's the reaction you're going to have, then buy the damn thing. You don't want to feel stupid, not when it comes to real estate.
All right, you and I will be in contact, and maybe we can do business in the near future.
One of my agents, Gerard, does Philadelphia. He knows Philly really well. He owns property there, Baltimore, Rochester. I just know the areas I mentioned. I've been to Philly, but I don't know the market that well.
Yeah, well, it would be to buy property in New York, hold on to this property in Philadelphia for a little while until it can get to $1 million, ideally, which will take a few more years, and then sell or whatever, or keep it for longer. But definitely, I think the refinancing it to get it as low as possible.
Yeah, if you've got worrying about those monthlies going up, and just be very careful when you use your VA loan. You want to get the biggest bang for your buck. And thank you for your service. Good for you.
Thank you. Well, I will be in communication with you about that when I'm ready to use that VA loan.
All right.
Thanks.
So Willie, Stacy has a question. Go ahead, Stacy. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, hi. Hi, Willie. How's everything? Thank you for your presentation. It was really great information. The question that I have two questions. You answered like the other two, but I wanted to know about the grants. Can, like, say me and my husband, we both are city workers, and then also I'm part of the union. I wanted to know, can we use two grants if we were on the same mortgage, or is it one grant per house?
No, you'd have to buy separately. You could buy one property, like you buy the property in the city with your grant and he's not on the deed. And then he buys the one upstate and you're not on the deed. You
Okay.
can't be, you can't do it otherwise.
I wasn't trying to be greedy, but I just want to know if that.
No, and I tell folks, file separately, do whatever you got to do because you didn't make the rules. The rules are you can't be on two properties. That's all.
Okay, gotcha. And then the second question that I have is, my friend, he actually bought a couple years ago. He was it was a lottery for a condo, not that far from Madison Square Garden, really good price. Do you know of any lottery where they have condos? Because I know that was a long time ago, and he was saying that it doesn't like really exist like that anymore.
There are a couple of condos. The deadline may have passed, but that again would be on the nyc.gov website.
Okay, for the lotteries. Okay.
HPD and just sign up for it. The ones that are current for Harlem are rentals. I don't know of any condos that are ready to be done. I mean, they're working on some, but I know in the other parts of the city there are condo lotteries. Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, I actually did go on a HPD. I filled out a bunch of stuff. Like at that time, I was looking into maybe an apartment, but they never called me, and I didn't see anything for lotteries at that time. But this was like maybe like 3 years ago.
The city is overwhelmed. There's a building in Harlem called, we call it the Sugar Cube. Some British guy from Nigeria, Nigerian parentage, designed it. He's a sir now. It's 155th Street between St. Nicholas Place and St. Nicholas Avenue. 50,000 applications for that one building.
Okay.
Department. So, but the odds are still better than the lottery. When we did our houses, we had 30 houses in the first round. We only had 74 people apply.
Oh, okay.
Which is crazy. And even if there are 50,000 people in the lottery, I guarantee you half of them aren't qualified. And then a quarter of the ones that are left, they've changed their mind. So you wind up really only competing with 4 or 5 other people.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'll look into what they might have.
You have to be ready. If they call, you can't say, "Oh, wait a minute, I need 2 or 3 weeks." No, you get your savings, you get all your stuff together now.
Yes,
Because there
gotcha.
are, I will tell you, in his class, he's had several students who missed it because they didn't do what he told them to do. They weren't ready and they got called.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much.
All right. Willie, we have LaQuanya with a question. LaQuanya, you want to unmute yourself, please?
Hi, good evening, Willie. Thank you. This has been really incredible. I've been writing profusely. But as you were speaking, I was going on the site NYSAR, and I was looking at the grants. It seems that most grants are saying that you must be under contract. Is that the norm to receive grants? Are there grants you can get before you can start a contract with the home?
All right, just hold on. It looks like Willie's frozen a little bit. Let me just make sure if I can. All right, yeah, I think she's frozen. Maybe her phone died or something like that. Willie, are you there?
I guess I will email her or text her that.
All right, well, hold on. Maybe we can get her back.
Okay.
All right, Charles, if you
Okay,
if you
it looks
can,
like
can you,
it looks like she may have been dropped. So I'll text her. Okay, I'll text her real quick.
well, see if you can get her back. Like just
Yeah,
try to
I'm
reach
doing
her.
it now.
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
I'm doing
All
it
right,
now.
so LaQuanya, just hold on to your question. Let's see if we can get her back.
Okay.
You know, if we can jump back and then we'll have your questions. But guys, listen, this is This is a lot. This is a lot of information. Like, oh my God, like real
So-
estate overload. There's a lot of information. I saw that you know, from the ones that I can see, that you guys were writing. I see a lot of things in the chat room. You guys are really going back and forth. Just stop and pause for a moment, take a breath, and really look at what information did you just get. You got somebody who's doing this for a number of years, really knows the stuff, really giving you some straight talk, and saying to you, hey, this is how it's done, this is how we're doing it. No fluff, no chaser, just straight, hard stuff. You know, again, from those of you who I can see, I see you guys nodding your head and like, yeah, this is good information, this is what's going on. So take it the way that you got it. You know, this is what it is. Now you got access to someone who can help you out with your real estate needs. And remember where we are, what we're doing. The purpose of the whole thing is to get all of us out of the financial dependency and just be like, oh, I'm financially free from everything. Here's the information. Now here's some people. Really take another look here. You are now connected to someone who is now connected with a whole bunch of other people. Okay, just one call got you all, what is it, 23 of us got us connected to someone who can really get you connected with something else that you got. Okay, is that her coming back, Charles?
Hopefully I just text her, so we'll see if she's coming back in.
All right,
Someone
I hope
else
her phone
just-
didn't die.
Yeah, someone else just got dropped too. We went from 24 to 22. I don't know who got dropped.
Well, that one was Willie and the other one was like an iPhone something or something like that. Anyway, all right, so guys, I just want to hear, like, unmute yourself, and I just want to hear, like, you know, what you're getting, what you're.
Okay, let me say something first.
Tell Sandra to talk.
This is for the group. Cynthia, the other day you sent me an email. I did not respond because I knew that Ms. Suggs was going to be able to answer your questions. This is for the group. This is for everyone. I know and I stay in my lane, but when it comes to certain things, I have a vague idea, but I have people next to me who can answer definitive questions, such as real estate when it comes to Ms. Suggs. Anything that I want to know about real estate, she is the person that I email. She is the person that I text. She is the person that I take to lunch. You see what I'm saying? So I want to share this with you guys because what we're doing, what I have, the people that I'm going to surprise you with is going to blow you out the water. Ms. Suggs shared some deep, intimate information. Matter of fact, we're recording this because I'm going to have to go through it and watch it again and take my notes and the whole thing. She said you can get a house with no money down. I don't know if you guys heard that. So let me tell you something. Watch me. Watch what's going to happen in the next 6 months. You guys are going to be like, oh shit, I was on that call. Look at what's going on. So I just want to share that with you guys. So you never know. Gerard, you're on the call? Gerard's there?
Gerald, yeah.
Gerald, I'm sorry, Gerald.
Yeah, I heard.
Gerald,
Yeah.
last week, Gerald, you asked me about real estate.
Right.
Got it? I'm not going to tell you guys what I'm doing. Either you're on the call or you're not. You know what I'm saying? So you never know who's going to be on the call. Right. You're either on the call. You never know who's going to be on the call. So what did I miss last week? I'm not going to talk about last week because that was last week. You guys get it? So I'm sharing this with you guys. You guys are a special group. After this group, I am charging a fee for these services that I do. You guys are the last group. And Sandra will tell you, Sandra was part of the first group. Manny was part of the first group. See what I'm saying? So I'm telling you guys, this is happening. And there's going to come a point in time when I'm not going to be reachable because I'm going to be working. I'm going to be doing some things and I got to go underground. I got to go undercover. And I'm just letting you guys know it's happening. These workshops every Thursday are very important because we're showing you and we're teaching you things that they don't want to know. They don't want you to know. Are we clear on that? Got it? That's my soapbox moment. Go ahead.
All right. So guys, if you guys can unmute yourself, I just want to hear, you know, what your experience is. Did you get something of value? What you did get, and you know, just keep it short. Keep it to like 1 minute, 2 minutes. All right, because it is already 9:50, so I just kind of want to make sure that we, you know, give everybody a quick shot to just say something. All right,
She's trying
who
to-
wants to be first?
Okay, she's trying to get back on, so if she pops in, that's a good thing, okay?
All right,
just wanna let
awesome.
you guys know. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, I see it. I can see it there. All right, so go ahead, guys. What'd you get?
This is Manny here. I just want to say, I'm sure we can all agree it's some phenomenal information. And she's definitely like a legend. And it's the quality of info is unbelievable. She's giving us like under the radar type info. You know what I mean? That's priceless. And I'm just super grateful for her time. You know what I'm saying? I could go get carried away and say so much more, but I know other people want to say, and I just want to express that little bit right there. I'm sure we all agree with what I just said, and that's it.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Benny. I mean, this actually gives value. It gives value
Absolutely.
for you even saying those words. So thank you for that. All right. And who else? What'd you get? All right. I'm gonna start calling on people.
Okay.
Hello.
Sandra,
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Sandra.
guys, Charles, correct me. I introduced you to Suggs, right? Let me tell you
Hey,
guys,
this group. Can you guys hear me?
there are so
You guys
many
hear me?
No, you
going
didn't.
down
Okay.
grants that are available within your communities. And Charles said, I have to wait. So I'll wait for our next meeting because I'm over here. I can't sit still. You see me fidgeting. I can't sit still. It is so true. I am a former homeowner. I have 7 siblings. That's why I'm a former homeowner. Yeah, no money down. And for Cynthia, yeah, you have to refinance that house. You will
Yes.
get an interest rate of 2.25, I think it is, or 2.35.
Okay.
It's just amazing. I love her. Love her.
All right.
Thank you.
Sandra,
I'm busting at the seams.
Sandra and Manny are part of the first Vanguard. So they've been around me for years. So that's why they're on the call, because I made sure that they were on the call. No, Sandra, you did not. So what happened was, no, because there was the documentary 7 a.m. and
Oh, yeah, I
she
remember.
was on the panel discussion, and that's when I met her, and that's when I made the connection.
Okay.
So that is so.
Right. So
now you got-
thank you, Sandra. So Andre and then Lucy. Andre, go ahead.
This class is really great. I'm still serving. I'm down in Florida right now, and I just purchased a home with the VA loan. I got an interest rate of 2.50 down. They paid for my closing, and I didn't spend anything at all. And I thought I was gonna spend some money, but absolutely nothing. And I've actually been thinking about buying an apartment or a condo or co-op, something in New York, because I want to go back and forth, because New York is my home and I really don't want to stay with anyone. So this class is like amazing. It came in just at the right time. So I want to thank you guys. Really appreciate it. I'm definitely gonna look into the HDFCs.
Yeah, and there was a question in the list. I hope she gets back on so that we can answer
Yeah,
that.
we're
If there's an
trying to
FDHC list.
we're trying to
All
get
right.
it back on.
Andre,
Len,
thank you.
Len,
Yep.
Andre, you
Yes.
there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, listen to me. Anybody who's in the military, I want you to think about this. Do you have close friends that were in the military? That you're
They still serving.
okay, but listen to me.
Oh, I got friends that's out too.
Okay, now listen to me. Imagine 6 of you, 7 of you, 8 of you get together, set up an LLC, and then use your veterans loans and buy yourself an apartment building.
Yeah, that
Okay,
sounds good.
that's
Andre,
okay.
hit me up.
Got it. See that? You got it. Do you hear?
There's
what I'm
two.
saying?
Yeah.
There's 2 already.
Do you hear what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
guys can buy an apartment building. Okay. Again, this is financial literacy. This is what it's all about. Okay, we're all in the same boat. We're all headed the same way. So let's do it together. Got it? All right.
Let me add something to that. That is living in the possibility of something. And when you live in the possibility of something, that's when creation starts to happen. You're not living in the past. All right, Lucy, you're up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. First of all, congratulations, Andre, to you and your family. I'm grateful for being on this call, and I'm finally glad that she was able to spend some time, valuable time with us. But I do want to touch up on what Charles was saying before. Charles has been doing free everything, illiteracy classes, credit repair, real estate, everything free. And like he said, this is going to be the last group. So take him on his word. Anything he moves forward with now, if he's charging, please help support his efforts because he has given a lot of his free time and efforts to everyone. So I just wanted to make that point.
All right, thank you, Lucy. And yes, Charles has really
Yes.
been, he's done the studies, he's been in the books, he's given it out free, he's shared it with us. He really has a commitment to who we are and where we're going. I know that, I know him personally. So guys, yeah, take him at his word. It's what it is, and it isn't what it isn't. So this is what's happening. And now when you start to see it, you're gonna see this group of people doing something in the future. You're gonna be like, wow, hey, I know those people. So get on board. All right, get the education, get on board. All right, who else? Who's next? Thank you, Lucy.
Oh, well, hi, it's LaQuania. So, it's been an exciting week. We started off Monday with me buying my first pieces of precious metal.
Awesome.
And now thank you. And I'm just beginning the housing process. I literally just completed my NACA file like 10 minutes ago. And then this is coming along. So this has been really, really great. Charles has changed my life. In fact, everyone here has changed my life. The trajectory of it, I look at things in a different lens, and it's only been maybe about a month, if that long. So yeah, this is really great stuff. I'm glad to be with like-minded people. We're all excited. We're all rolling in the same direction. And yeah, let's just keep pushing forward. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Okay. I love that. Thank you, LaQuania. Thank you. You're adding something. You're also adding something to the group. Just by your presence and the newness of everything and how you're being with what you're doing. You're generating it, and you're discovering something new. And just by sharing that in the group, that actually makes a difference. Andre, I just want you to look at the chat there. Okay, you're being somebody's sending you a message in the chat room, in the chat there. Something else that she mentioned was about sharing the information with your friends, with your buddies, with your whatever. I'm going to say this clearly. This particular group, we are this group. This is the group where, we're supporting each other. So if you can't buy the property, maybe we will buy the property or whatever, but we're not trying to undercut you or oversell you. This is not that type of competition. I'm going to say that this is a safe space, but be careful, like she said, who you share this information with, who you're sharing, what you're buying and what you're doing with it. You don't want to share that with everybody because they will either start, instead of planning on learning it themselves, they'd plan to take it from you. So just be mindful of that. Just please be mindful of that. You guys clearly don't know all the things that I'm up to, but what I've displayed, like I got this thing going on here. What I've displayed is what I'm letting you see. All that other stuff in the background, that's a whole different animal. And then when it pops, I'm going to be so protected that you can't do anything about it because I'm going to be so far ahead or so far gone. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to share it with you, but I just want to know that who I'm sharing it with is on the same kind of level, the same kind of playing field. Like-minded people is what she said. Now, she's put a team of people around her, which is why she's so successful, which is why she has the information, and this is why she's also giving it to us raw. For somebody to be that raw, she must see a lot of caca out there, and she's cut through all that caca. Now, clearly I can say another name, but this is being recorded, right? She's seen enough caca in her life that's like, yo, wait, we getting railroaded because we just don't have the information. And now when we got the information, it's like, nah, screw all that other BS. This is what we're doing, and this is how we're going to do it. This is how we win. All right, so LaQuania, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. All right, anyone else? It is now exactly 10 o'clock. Charles,
okay, guys.
I don't think she's getting back on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I quickly say something?
Yeah, hold on. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, after you, Charles, Wayne.
She's texting me now. She's trying to get back on. So just want to let you guys know that. you guys are, you're more than welcome. She's gonna jump back on. You're more than welcome to stay on. This is a special night because I'm producing what I said I was going to do. So if you guys want to stay on, it's fine. I would love for you to stay on. She's trying to get back on. She's texting me now. But what I want all of you to do is send her a thank you email. Just say thank you for tonight. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for everything. What was funny was what she said about the two people who went to buy the apartment, and someone, the friend, convinced the buyer not to buy, and then what, 10, 15 minutes later, he bought the house underneath. This is what's going on. Wealth principle number 3 is what?
Protect yourself.
Wealth principle number 3, got it. You see that? All right, got it. All right, cool. So Wayne, you were saying something, Wayne?
Yeah, no,
Wayne?
I just to follow up. Can I be heard?
Wait,
oh no, if she's coming back.
Hold on.
She's coming back. I'm
She's
quiet.
coming back.
All right, later.
No, go ahead, say your thoughts. She's coming back.
No, let her come back in first. Let her come back in.
Okay.
All right, Willie, are you there? Oh, she's connecting audio.
She's connecting audio. All right.
All right, LaQuanya, you still had a question, so you can just pick it up right where you left off, and then maybe Wayne, you can ask a question. So as soon as her audio connects.
Okay.
All right, Willie, we got you back. You're on mute. You're on mute, Willie.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, there you go. I'm so happy you got back. You're here. We were talking good stuff all about you while you were gone.
Okay.
You want to pick up right where you left off, because LaQuanya had a question for you.
Yeah, she had a question. Yeah, I was taking notes. Go ahead.
Hi, Miss Willie. Thank you so much for this. This has been incredible. So as you were speaking, I was looking for grants. I just started the process with NACA. I just uploaded my files today, actually. So this is right on time. I was looking on the website. You were talking about the first time home buyer grant for up to $15,000. I saw NYSAR. And they're saying that for the grant, and for what I'm looking, most of the grants, you must be under contract. Are there any grants that you can get before you start a contract with the home?
Well, they want you to have you need the grant letter to attach to the contract of sale, so you should have a contract. I mean, you haven't found the house yet?
No, I literally just started with NACA today. I uploaded my file today, okay. So I should be approved with like a couple of days.
Yeah, no, because they want to know that you've got the house at least as a draft of a deal memo or something going out. They're not going to just set aside money for you, because what they have is it's a pool of money, and it's apportioned to people who've actually got contracts of sale. Otherwise, they'd be taking money and hoping that you find a house. You're going to find something. There's a lot of stuff out here.
Understood. So what is your personal opinion on NACA? Is that a good road for me to take? I'm a first-time home buyer. I'm looking for a multifamily.
Well, you want to do a multifamily? Oh my goodness. I would look at everybody, because it's personalities, it's speed. I do know because of the pandemic, the grant process is taking a lot longer. So make sure your seller understands that there's a grant involved and that you're not going to close. Like, we close stuff in 3 days. You're not closing in 3 days. You're not even closing in 3 weeks. Try 2 to 3 months. Always be nice, because it's the best way to be. And say, look, I've got a grant. The earliest they're telling me we'll close in February, so that they know, so they can plan their pathetic little lives. So see who can get it done faster, because sometimes the sellers won't wait unless you give them a financial incentive for you to close, because why should they wait for you for 3 months when Bob is going to give it to them in December? So be prepared to pay the full price if you have to, or even a little more, so that they don't. So there's a reason for them basically to wait. Once you start paying full price, they don't care. They'll wait for the money.
Understood. Thank you.
I would check all the grants, and then it's not just a grant. Banks give discounts. If you take Reverend Butler's class, the people that speak, not me, because I don't, I don't control the commissions. The home inspector gives a discount to people who've taken the class. One of the lawyers, Daphne McKenzie, I thought she was insane. She was charging people $850 to close the CoOp. That's ridiculous. It should be like 1,500 to 2,000. So ask everybody, there's no shame in asking if there's a discount. You know, because they'll shave it. Because even though the real estate, the mortgage bankers are busier now, they can cut stuff. You say, look, you know, money is tight. Is there anything you can do for me? Is there some way you can help me out? Even if they just take $50 off, $50 means you get nicer blinds for your house. Ask everybody. And nobody, I forgot to tell you guys this. When you're negotiating to buy your house, there's always pad. Even if the broker says, oh, there's no room for negotiation, that's a bald-faced lie. If they've got a broker involved, assume that there's a 6% commission, because that's what the standard industry standard is. So if the house is 100,000, it's really 94, because the brokers aren't idiots either. They will shave the commission if they have to get it closed. So unless it's the deal of a lifetime, and you know, if you don't give them full price, there are 50 people behind you, always offer 5 or 6% less. All they can say is, no. There are 3 things the seller can say, or their broker can say: yes, no, or they counter you. That's it. But like the house both the houses I got here in New York, I offered them full price because they were both underpriced and I wasn't stupid. If I had not given them what they wanted, somebody 2 seconds behind me would have snatched it. So the minute I said full price, it took the property off the market. Yeah. But I forgot to tell you about that.
Thank you. I'm actually emailing you now, so I will certainly be in touch.
Okay, alrighty.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Willie, Gisette has a question. Gisette, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Hello, thank you for this talk. This is really enjoyable. So I was kind of hesitant about asking this question, and just it's really about when could someone start in this buying houses and things like that. I am a student and I'm constantly moving, so I'm not actually settled anywhere yet. So I just was seeking your advice on that. So yeah, that's, yeah.
Okay, in my family, when you're 18, you buy something, because that's when you can first legally own something. So if you're 18 years old, what should you buy? The niece in Santa Barbara knew she wanted to live in Santa Barbara, so that's the first place she's going to buy, because she's going to live there. Either not now when she's going to retire. The first thing I bought was not the house in New York, because I thought I was leaving like everybody else, but I knew that since I have no children and no prospects, because Denzel's married, I said, I'm going to be where my nieces are, and they're all in California. So I bought a retirement house in California and rented it out. Then I bought another one and rented it out. So, or if you say like, I made, I didn't buy one in Spain because they were really cheap. But if you're going to buy something that you're going to rent, you have to be extremely careful, because if it's not where you are, meaning you can't just drive by or walk by and see that it's standing, you have to have an excellent managing agent or a family member that you trust with your financial future, and they're going to check that freaking house to make sure that's not damaged. The stuff that I own out of city is in Bakersfield. We have the world's best management company, plus my relatives are there. They go past the houses all the time. So we know that the tenants are behaving. So in your case, you have to be very, really, really, really careful. Now, if I'm a student, you know other students, right? You can buy something where it is you're going to school. If you're going to school in Syracuse, student housing, once this pandemic is over, it's going to go back to normal, which is to say student housing is a gift. Those kids come, they leave. All you have to do is paint the darn thing, have the parents be the guarantors. If they're out of state, if you're going to rent to students, graduate students.
Yes.
They're human beings, never undergraduates. Number 2, the ideal graduate student is a medical student. They have no lives. All they do is sleep when they're home. They don't party. They're serious. And the absolute best, foreign-born graduate medical students. Because then when mommy comes in from Japan, or where's that kid from? We had a bunch of them from Pakistan. We made them pay 3 years rent up front, because they were from Pakistan. If the kids didn't pay, we would have been up the creek. So you can get the rent in advance. Now, New York City law, if you're buying, wherever you're buying in this rental property, you have to understand the rental law. Do not use Wikipedia as a source, because it changes. Go to the whatever the government in New York City, it's New York City NYC.gov. You click on HPD, you're going to see the rent rules and stuff. You have to know the rules because it's in New York City, it's very pro tenant. Last summer, they really screwed all of us. They said, okay, the good news for the tenants is you get your security deposits back in 14 days. The landlords would drag you to court and do stupid stuff. Bad news is if we decide to keep part of that rent deposit because you screwed up, we have to have pictures before, after, showing the estimates for the work that was done and what you did. And then it's a freaking nightmare now, which is why some people are turning away. That's if you're whether you're rent regulated or not, you got to go through that nonsense. But try to buy, if it's rental property, you don't want it regulated. You don't want rent stabilized. You don't want rent control. That's suicide. But certainly not rent stabilized. And in California, rent regulated apartments, and not just New York City. You have them in Westchester County, parts of Connecticut, and you've got them in California. Nobody with a brain buys in the Bay Area because the property is useless. The tenants own the property, not you. So just be very careful. But rental housing is good. The other thing some people buy is they'll buy housing for seniors, like group homes, not with the pandemic, of course, because that's guaranteed money coming from the feds to take care of Miss Betty and Miss Bob in those homes. One of my nieces, that's what she's doing. She's going to be buying a couple of houses in Bakersfield just to house seniors. It's stupid money, stupid money.
Yo, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah.
Ms. Suggs, you mentioned Reverend Butler. What was that? Can you tell me what that is?
Reverend Butler, he's the gentleman in charge of the Homebuyers education courses at HCCI. That stands for Harlem Congregations for Community Improvement.
Okay, great.
But there are lots of not-for-profits that run it. Abyssinian does it. NH Neighborhood Housing Services. Reverend Butler is right up the street from me. That's why I wind up doing his, and he's the cheap one. He's $20.
Okay, great. Thank you. Letting the room know that I will be looking into this, so I will set it up. So if you guys want to take this workshop, like Ms. Suggs says, it's going to be 4 different intervals. Let me know. So when I sign up, I'll let you guys know. And remember, she said it's done through Zoom. So we don't have to go anywhere. Everything's good. I'll get on it, give you guys information.
Awesome. And maybe we can do it all as a group. That'd be awesome. You'll get a discount. Get a discount.
Yeah.
I don't know about the discount. $20 isn't much, but you can ask. Now, the other thing, I just dropped my pen. They do specific like one-off seminars on landlord-tenant stuff. They did one on essentially understanding your house with the house speakers. And you don't have to start with session 1. You can drop in and start with session 2 or 3 or 4. It's easier on you if you start with session 1 because there is a progression to it. It's what I'll do is I can email you his little agenda of what happens at each of the 4 sessions. But you can start now. They don't do it in July, and they don't do anything from like Christmas to New Year's.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Miss Willie. Gerald has a question for you. Go ahead, Gerald. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening, Miss Willie. How you doing?
Hi.
A lot of knowledge tonight. That was my daughter who just talked. I'm proud she's on the call. You know, I'm trying to make it better for her. And I'm looking to buy, well, I'm in the process of buying a house in West Haven, Connecticut. It's under contract right now. And my question is, I'm looking to buy 2 houses, but I'm looking to buy like a 3 to 4 5 family. I know 5 is considered commercial. So what's your suggestion?
That's in New York City. Oh, well, it's everywhere, but just check the tax difference in New York. I don't know West Haven, Connecticut. I looked in Stamford, but that was years ago.
Right. Okay. But, you know, I'm just looking around, you know, trying to set everything up.
Do you live in West Haven, or how are you?
No, I live in New York. I live in Westchester.
Okay, so who's going to be checking the property for you?
Well, it's only an hour drive.
Oh, so you're going to do it yourself?
Yes.
Well, I would install a camera because they can do a lot of damage.
What do you think about management companies.
They don't want to deal with small buildings.
Okay.
Unless you're talking about California, where most of the rentals are, we're in the Central Valley in Bakersfield. Most of the rentals there are single family. So you've got like 20 companies there that specialize in single families. In New York, it's not the same thing. The big boys, HSC Management, those guys, they're doing tens of, or Friedman, they're doing hundreds of apartments at a time. And they don't want to be, there's no economy of the scale running around with one apartment. So what you can do, depending on who the tenant is, if you can get some lovely Irish immigrant, they're really good if they're in construction, and you give them a slight discount and let them take care of the lawn, take care of the shoveling, so that they're going to take care of the property. Then you don't have to have a super. The issue then becomes, well, who's going to collect the rent? Well, everybody does that by internet now, and you send the invoices that way. They can pay you with PayPal or whatever. But my concern is if there's something wrong, if they turn out to be the tenants from hell, and you don't want to get a call from the neighbors or the cops that they're having parties there all the time. And don't assume the tenants are bright people, because some of them aren't. I had a tenant who was, that's why I learned my lesson. She was the niece of my then best friend, who's now my ex-friend. The girl not only was a nymphomaniac, and I'm not kidding, I found that out after 3 weekends of guys going in and out. She didn't tell me when stuff was wrong in the apartment. I found out that there was a leak from a radiator after it had been leaking for a month. That's when the tenant below told me. It's like, what the hell's the matter with you? I said, now his floor is damaged. So you can't assume that. All you can do is have, when you're looking for tenants, it's best to have 3 sets of eyeballs on them. You're the last set. The first set is whoever the broker is that's going to rent it for you. All right. And they're going to screen them out. I mean, they're going to keep the crazies out. Then you're going to have the reports. This is what I would do. Have my credit reports run by yet another party, a third party. All they're caring about is the credit background check. And then you look at then you look at it, because you want to keep the crazy people out, because they can do a lot of damage to your house. And if they're in there not paying rent and they damaged it, and then you've got to pay for stuff after they've damaged, it's a nightmare.
Eddie? Well, these tenants, the house I'm looking to purchase, tenants are already in there. Since I'm doing an FHA, one unit had to be vacant. So technically, you're supposed to live in there a year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Now, well, you and I didn't have this conversation. So in your contract, I'm assuming you got to, you need to meet the people that are there. Okay, number one, in the place to see how they're keeping, number one. Number two, you want to run your own background check on them. Because just because they're there doesn't mean you want them there. And the background check is not, the FICO score. It's, the FICO score and a criminal background check. You want to know if there are any outstanding arrest warrants. We caught a kid who was wanted in Iowa. This is a white kid. And everybody think it's black folks. No. This is a white kid who was wanted for 10 years in Iowa. He didn't show up in court for something. We found another kid who was on the government no-fly list. Another one who was a registered sex offender trying to rent across the street from a school. So you do the deep background criminal check on these folks. That's what the agency does. They call their they not only talk to the landlord, because landlords will lie. Oh, what a shock. One of my neighbors freaking lied about the tenant that I took in. Come to find out later, that person that hadn't paid rent in 6 months. Not 6 months, a couple of years. So you want to see the rent receipts. The rent receipts, which is to say the canceled checks. All right.
That's what I'm trying to see.
They can't lie about that check. No, you have to see that before you go. And then you want to see, they're going to call the bosses, having a pay stub. People fake that stuff. And when you ask them to put it in writing, they won't sometimes. We had a woman, my landlord was desperate to rent the apartment. And I said, no, just pay. I said, let us do our job. I said, we've screened, she seems okay, but I'm not comfortable with her credit report. This was a 25, 26-year-old African-American female who worked in the recording industry. So yeah, she was making 6 figures. But the problem was when you looked at her credit report, she had 1 credit card. No black female, 25 years old, has 1 credit card. Okay, that's not possible. Number 2, the credit card was Eddie Bauer. I don't know a black person who shops at Eddie Bauer except my nephew who thinks he's white. He shops at Eddie Bauer. No black females I know shop there. So I surmised that that's her boyfriend who put her on the card so that she could build her credit. And I said, so I'm not comfortable with that. I said, I just, and the other thing was we asked for a letter in writing, not verbal, but a letter in writing from her boss. And I know he's a big recording guy and he's kind of busy. So we said, but the owner kept pressing us to sign the lease. I said, okay, fine. You know, what's it, Danette's going to go down there. She'll get her to sign. She goes there, Danette's not there. So she took Willie, we've been waiting, Danette's not here. I said, fine. I said, I'll call the boss. He's at another office. So I call the boss. First words out of his mouth, I told her I wasn't going to put anything in writing. And I said, excuse me, that's my ex-old lady, and she doesn't have a job as of January 1st. So if we had put that wonderful woman in there, cute and cuddly as she was, she wasn't going to be paying January's rent. That's why my owner was desperate, because she didn't want to go through December and January and February. So that's why you hire the professionals to do our job, to make sure you don't screw yourself. You don't do anything out of desperation. Well, I'd marry Denzel out of desperation if you ask me, but you don't do stuff out of desperation, okay? Because you make a mistake, and even though you're not supposed to discriminate because it's illegal, you be very, very careful of who the source of the income from the tenants. The reason that a lot of New York City landlords will not take vouchers from anybody, they don't want to hear about it. Your friend and mine, Mr. Bloomberg, terminated one of the city voucher programs with no notice when he was in office. That meant my landlords then had to throw these people out because there was nobody paying the rent. So there are vouchers that are good and there are vouchers that are bad. So you have to verify the source of the funds and how long they're going to last, because you don't want to move in Miss Betty and her 3 kids and then her voucher disappears. Then you're screwed. People love the vouchers because the money's coming from a government agency, but you can't have that. And the other thing is, make sure your lease, you have a lawyer, right? Your lawyer that's representing you, have him do a rider to the lease. They always say, oh, it's the standard lease. There's no such freaking thing as a standard lease. You always come with a rider, which is additional requirements for the tenant. And you throw everything in there, including the kitchen sink. If they don't separate that trash and you get a ticket, they gotta pay for that. They can't be bringing in Betty and Susie and Bob. Anybody that stays there more than 30 days, up to 29 days, you have to know, because if something goes wrong, you're screwed. They have to have renter's insurance. If the people that are already there are on a lease and you've got to renew it, you add it to the new lease. When you're getting the building, you get whatever lease they have. It's still good. The lease goes with the property, but the new lease had better have a rider. And you think of everything, because you don't want anybody to mess this up. This is your house. If something goes wrong with that, yeah, I can tell you how to stall foreclosure, but you don't want to do that, and you sure as hell don't want to file bankruptcy. And yes, we can tell you how to fix your credit and get it better in 6 months, but you don't need to go down that road. So the whole point is to get the good people in at the beginning, keep the bad people out.
Right. So that everybody in the apartment should have background check. I should do a background check on everybody in the apartment, because there is 2 grown adults living with her mother.
Anybody over the age of 18 has to sign that little permission slip so that you can rent. Now, you'll pay for it. You're not going to make them pay for it because they're already there. The minimal check is $25. The deep background check's about $85, and it's deep. I mean, it's like, you know, the guy I have running mine now he's a PI. He's a private investigator. And if the tenant coming in has pets, you take your tushy over to their house for an unannounced visit to see how they live with that dog or that cat. Because you will lose good tenants because of cats and dogs that bark. Well, the cats don't bark, but the cats can smell. And better yet, no pets. The ideal is no freaking pets. They will chew the place up. And that little 1 month security is not going to fix your damn floor or your door. It doesn't work.
Okay, thank you.
In New York City, we have the roommate. Yeah, in New York City, we have the roommate law, so they could move in and bring in somebody later, but I don't know that that's true in Connecticut. But even so, we put it in the writing that they have to notify. Something goes wrong in that house, you're screwed with the insurance. And make sure they have their own renter's insurance policy listing you as an additional insured. It's a liability policy. Minimum coverage for you is $20,000, and you don't care. Yeah, it's they got the new tenants have. But I would pause for the length, because it goes wrong. If you don't have the money and you have to pay for it, somebody falls on the staircase, they're suing you. And the other thing is, you transfer that property out of your name as fast as you can and put it in an LLC. So if something does go kerflooey, they can't go after you personally. They can only go after the property. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
And you got a will, right? Everybody on this call knows about wills, right? You've got wills and durable powers of attorney?
No, I don't.
Because if you're
We
having real
haven't,
estate, you have
we haven't talked
Oh,
about that.
geez, okay.
That's gonna be next month's, that's on the agenda for next month.
Okay, with real estate,
Yeah.
yeah, you got it,
Yep.
you got to have a will, durable power of attorney, healthcare proxy
Yep.
if you own real estate, because people that you think are nice, they turn into a-holes when money's involved. I can tell
Yeah.
you horror stories about that too, but I won't.
Got it. All right.
All right, well, Miss Willie, I don't see any more hands raised for questions. I want to just take a moment to acknowledge you.
Ava has a hand up.
Ava? No,
Yeah.
Ava, that's a hand clap. That's not a hand up.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Got it.
All right, that's Ava and Stacy are clapping.
Yeah, clap.
Got it. Okay, got it.
So I just want to take a moment, Miss Willie Suggs, to just acknowledge you. I've never met you before, and the information that you just shared with me or with us is mind blowing, because some of it I've known, some others I just did not know at all. And what you just shared, how you shared it, really, really makes a difference for how I now interpret what I'm doing, how I'm doing things, how to protect myself, which is one of the third of the four wealth pillars that Charles is creating here, which is protect yourself. And most of what you spoke about is about how to protect ourselves. And then on top of that, okay, now that we're protected, now we can go out there and we can start making some serious money with these real estate deals and these real estate properties and things like that. Now I have my own home, and yes, you're right. It's money out of my pocket, but I do own it, and I could walk around anywhere I want. My wife and I and my children and the whole deal.
Right.
But now getting into real estate, okay, yeah, I want to buy a 3-family, 4-family. I want to get an apartment building eventually. Just like the Monopoly game. I want to get 4 houses, and then okay, the next is a hotel. All right, now a hotel is the best thing, but
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah,
there
my
yet.
sisters in Bakersfield, it's very, but they each own 9. And it's my one sister, I wish I did what she did, but I love New York. She doesn't work. She wakes up, decides she wants to go to Paris, she goes to frickin' Paris. Because she's got the money. And she had a real job. She realized she didn't have to do it anymore. So she's got her, she retired, or she's got the pension, she's got a 401k, and then she's got her houses, and the houses are all paid for. Now, it's much easier for you to do that in Bakersfield, where you can get new construction for $300,000. You buy it, to rent it out, you buy another one, you rent it out. You have to have your reserves. You always have to have reserves, ideally 6 months of mortgage payments in case they don't pay or something goes forward. But you can do it. But she started young. She had, I think we're all Russians from the old Soviet Union. We have a 5-year plan. All of us had little 5-year plans. And her 5-year plan was, 16, she wanted the boat, 18, she wanted the car, 21, she wanted the house. And then she just kept going. She threw the husband in and the kid too. But you got to have a goal, and you don't be distracted by other stuff. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys the penny story. There's big money and there's little money. No, there's all money. One of the richest people, not richest, but yeah, she is rich, is Lisa. So Lisa and I are walking down the street. She keeps like $1 million liquid, which is really kind of stupid, but she does it so she can buy stuff. So if I got to sell something right away, and because they're having an account, I call Lisa, and Lisa will write a check. So I'm walking down the street to the listing with Lisa. And when you walk and you talk to people, you look at them and you look where you're going, and you look at them and you look where you're going. I turn back to look at Lisa, and she's on the ground. I'm thinking, oh my God, she fell. So I'm reaching to grab her, and she says, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm helping you up. She says, no, I was picking up a penny. And I said, what? She said, yeah. And I said, okay. She said, you think I'm crazy? I said, no, Lisa, I know you're crazy. So tell me the story about the penny. Well, do you know that if you stood in one place and just up and down and up and down, it's 7. I pick up every freaking dime, nickel, quarter I see, because it's money. It's people in New York walk past money. And what I turned into a game. I have a piggy on the fireplace in the office, and at the end of the week, I roll the money up. It's anywhere from $11 to $40. Found money that people leave on the street in the bodegas. They drop the money at the counter and they don't pick it up. And so initially say, hey, there's money down here. They tell you to keep it. We had a house that we were selling. I told the owner, I said, there's money throughout this house. You guys always leave money in the sofas, whatever. And I called her because I found a $20 bill. I said, oh, you can keep it. I said, no, honey, this is going to be a lot of money because you've got stuff. It wound up being $85 that they left in the house. So we had a pizza. So all it is to say is, you save every dime you can, because for every dollar you have, you can borrow 10. You're using leverage. Real estate's the best thing since Denzel Washington and sliced bread. They're giving you money to buy a house or property because you have good credit. It's not this way. It just isn't. End of story.
Wow. No, I totally get it.
And then double check whatever anybody.
Double check what anybody's telling you. Yeah, I got that too. So yeah, I mean, this is what this whole thing is about, where we're double checking, we're getting the information, and then we're double checking. And you mentioned something there, and we're going to get to that conversation also with wills and you know, securities and the whole thing. That's what this whole workshop is. So I want to be not the first or the last to tell you.
I keep forgetting to tell you guys, if you have older relatives, for God's sake, talk to them now. We had a woman who practically tackled me on the street. She's got some great aunt somewhere in North Carolina. She's got 500 acres and she's about to lose it. And I'm like, because everybody just assume, well, she knows what she's doing. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. She's lost her freaking mind because she's old and senile. Like, what's his face? Bye. Talk to them, have a conversation. Don't assume that they know what they're doing, because she inherited that money from her parents. So we are losing, blacks are, a lot of times we just lose the generational wealth because nobody bothered to ask Aunt Doretha, Aunt Marie, whoever the heck the relative is, are they okay? Sometimes I had a friend of mine lost his freaking house in Winston-Salem because he was too proud to tell me he had an issue. I said, look, dear, why didn't you tell me? I could have arranged financing for you because I know people who know people. I know a guy who owns a freaking bank. I said, he'd have loaned you the money because I'd have begged him to. It was for like $11,000. Why? And people will say, well, I'm embarrassed. Who's running the freaking country? Why are we embarrassed about anything? It's money and you don't lose it.
Wow. I totally get that. Now, listen, I know that I know you could share a lot more information for another 5 hours.
You got it.
All right, but listen, I want to acknowledge the time. The time now is now 10:32. The debate's still going on. not that we really care too much about that. But again, I want to acknowledge and just say to you, wow, I really appreciate what you shared with me, what you shared with us. And it really is valuable information. I really, really acknowledge that you're here and that you spent the time just to share with us what we need to know. So thank you. Again, I don't see any other hands raised or any other questions. Does anyone have any other questions for Ms. Snug?
Yes, I have one question. She stated about the background check. Where's the ideal place? I know real estate offices, they do it and there's a charge. Is that like the primary place to get the background check, or where else can you get like background checks when you get the clients, when you get the tenants?
There are several agencies that do background checks. The Rent Stabilization Association, which is a landlord group. They have a company that runs them. There's TF Credit. There's Castle Bail Bonds. They're actually based in, of all places, Reno, but they only charge $50. I don't care because it's all internet. But there's several. But there should be a fee schedule, because the deeper the check, the more expensive, but you're not paying for it. The gentleman who's buying the house with the tenants in it, he's got to pay for the one for the tenants already there. That's only fair. Anybody new, the tenant pays. Now, if it's in New York City, New York State, the law states you cannot charge them more than $20. So if you're going to get the deep check, you're going to wind up eating the difference between the 85 and the 20. Yeah. But outside New York State, it's whatever the local rules are, if there are any. But if you simply Google tenant screening companies, a bunch of them show up, and talk to them. Ask them to send you samples. Ask them how long it takes them to do it. I like TF Credit and Castle because I can call them now and they'll answer the phone because they have no lives. I mean, they work on weekends. They work all the time. And if you tell them it's a rush, like you tell them at 9, you need it by 10, they will have it done. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
A lot of times I got owners who want stuff, but just you can them online. But TF Credit is based in Connecticut. Castle Bail Bonds is in Nevada, and I've got their contact if you email me or call me.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, so if there's no other questions, Charles, I'm gonna leave it with you. Charles, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Okay, just wanted to say, you guys have met the famous Miss Suggs. You've heard me speak about her. She's giggling now because she knows I get excited every time I talk about her. A wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information. One thing that I admire about Miss Suggs is she cares for us. She cares for us. I had an experience with her where she's talking about when she started, how she was trying to get us to purchase Harlem and we wouldn't do it. And she had to go outside of the family because this is what she does. And she's upset because people have opportunities, they just don't take it. So I want to thank Ms. Suggs. And we have to set a date. I'll take you to lunch because I got some gifts for you. I keep trying to, we got to hook up. So we'll set something up and we'll do that. So everyone, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Ms. Suggs. Ms. Suggs, will you come back and visit us again? Ms. Suggs, will you come back and visit us again?
Yeah, I can tell you the days I'm not around. Yeah, I'm here.
Got it. All right, I'll schedule it. I'll make
yeah.
sure. Okay, I'll make sure.
I'm
And,
not available November.
okay, it's fine. Listen, they got enough
All right,
already.
I'll let you.
So they got enough already. All right, so we're going to close out. We want to say thank for everyone for joining the group, for coming in. I hope you guys got something. If it was just one thing, it was worth it. So I want to thank you guys and say good night to everyone. And Ms. Suggs, thank you again. And we will be talking to you again. Thanks, everyone. Wayne, thanks a lot for setting up the room.
All right.
Got it?
All right.
All
Guys,
thanks
have
a lot,
a-
guys.
Good night.
See you all
Good
next
night.
Thursday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next Thursday.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everyone. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Len?
Yes,
Len?
sir.
Stay on. Wayne, Len, stay on.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, is everyone off?
No,
Not
we
yet.
still got like some stragglers. All right, Ms. Suggs, if you can hang up or disconnect, or do you guys just want to end the whole thing and then come back in?
No, we're going to remove everybody because they're supposed to be off. So
I got it. I'll
you
take
got it? Okay.
Mhm.
Yo, yeah. Oh, where's she at? Call her back. Call her back. Lynn, call her back.
Who?
And tell her come. You look old.
I
Oh, you look old.
What the hell? Oh man, that's my
wife.
Should I stop the
It
recording?
was my birthday yesterday, so
stop.
he's making a joke.
Listen.
I'll stop the recording.
Yeah, stop the recording. We're good.
Yeah, I'll stop the recording now, all right?